This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Soaking Wet by VB Health, the world's first probiotic specifically designed for vaginal and vulva health and wellness. Visit soakingwet.com and use code SAVAGE for 10% off or click the link in this episode's show notes.
You're listening to After Action Report at savage.love.
After Action Report.
Welcome to After Action Report, where I interview brave souls who've tried something new or new for them in the bed or on the kitchen table or in the playroom or at the sex club. This week, we talk with Lee, who decided that her ketamine infusion therapy was good and it was helping her, but there was something else she wanted to do on ketamine, and she's here to tell us all about it. Joining us for this After Action Report, Lee. Lee, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So before we get to the who and the what and the how and the where, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a 38-year-old AFAB genderqueer person. I'm queer, I'm polyamorous, living on the East Coast.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. What is it that you, 38-year-old queer, AFAB, polyamorous, living in the East Coast, wanted to share with the After Action Report audience? What's the new thing that you tried?
Probably a little bit unusual, but I recently tried having sex as soon as I possibly could after receiving IV ketamine therapy.
Wow. I've certainly known guys who've had sex on ketamine, but not after receiving IV ketamine therapy. Can you make a distinction for us between recreational ketamine use and the therapeutic ketamine use that I assume that you were doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's not a doctor, but from the patient's point of view, when for therapeutic reasons, one would get IV ketamine, or also could be other types of ketamine, basically to help with treating PTSD, anxiety, treatment-resistant depression. All those would be, all those get kind of covered by IV ketamine, and I have them all, so that's what we were doing.
Okay, so you're doing a program of ketamine therapy for mental health reasons.
Absolutely.
The clubs are full on the weekend in Seattle and everywhere else with guys, mostly gay guys, who are doing ketamine for recreational reasons. A lot of them having sex on ketamine, which can create feelings of euphoria. It's a dangerous drug. It's a party drug. Like all recreational drugs, if you're using it recreationally, you should use it very sparingly, once in a great while. If you're using K every day, K's using you, and you need to stop. But like, people can enjoy this drug recreationally. And it sounds like you were doing the therapeutic version, but you decided to get recreational about it after?
Yeah. A little bit. I really wanted to experiment because, I mean, while you're doing it, I'm not sure exactly how much people tend to take recreationally, but you are definitely on a psychedelic dose when you're getting it in IV. You're very much out of it. It's also often, what I did was often paired with psychotherapy simultaneously. So you talk to your psychotherapist before, they're with you during, it's after, but you also get solo infusions. And this was a solo infusion so that I could kind of get out of the chair as quickly as possible and get home while still feeling the influence. So the actual ketamine therapy, you're kind of out of it. You're really deep into it. Ketamine's an anesthetic, right? So you're just like completely under. So by the time you go home, you're no longer high. You've gone through like the entire period of coming out of it, but you're definitely still feeling it in your brain and your body. And I was just really curious to see what it would be like to have sex as soon as possible after that.
So solo sex or partnered sex? Who was the lucky other?
Partnered sex.
Who was the lucky other? And did you tell them, like, I'm getting my ketamine infusion today for therapeutic reasons, but I'm coming home after and I want to get banged? Like, or did it happen spontaneously?
Oh, no, definitely not spontaneously. This is my boyfriend. We've been together for about a year now. Not nested. He has a nesting partner, but definitely like my closest romantic connection. And no, this is something you definitely need to take the time to have a conversation and negotiate, because even though I'm not going to be high at the time. I'm still very much under the influence. And, I absolutely had the ability to say no if I wanted to stop or do anything like that. But, there's still, you want to be able to discuss that stuff in advance because there could be consent issues.
On both sides, I have to say, not just the consent of the person who may be impacted by the drugs, but it's really important if you're going to use any sort of drug. I think informed consent requires your partner to know. Not everybody wants to have sex with somebody who's high or is rolling, and somebody might be down to have sex with you when you're high, when you're on ketamine or some other drug, or you're rolling, but they might want to know what they're getting into so that if you have a bad reaction or you crash out in a way that's related to the drug, they can be like alert for it and sensitive to it.
100%. I would say also in this case specifically, because of the way ketamine affects people, on my partner's part, this was really a GGG move. This was an act of service because, I was kind of out of it and it was more him servicing me rather than anything else. So obviously that was something we needed to discuss.
Okay, we want the dirty details. How did he service you? We want to know exactly how. And how did it feel? And how did it feel? And did it feel differently than sex when you're not on ketamine? Or off
yes.
Ketamine pills?
It was a bizarre experience. And I kind of took notes after the fact because I was like, this is awesome, and I wanted to remember. And also I told my therapist that I was planning on doing it. So she's like, that sounds like a great integration session after, which is what you do in therapy after ketamine. So I was like, I wanted to be able to share with her as well. So yeah, there's a couple of different things to touch on and how it affected me. So it was the big thing about it is, like I said, it's an anesthetic, but it also creates hypersensitivity. So you have this really weird combo of the two things. So, for example, and I will get very detailed unless you tell me not to.
No, please. We want the details. The show's all about the details.
All right. So just, even just I'm very touch oriented, and even just like fingers down my body will usually, provoke a reaction for me. And in this case, I was feeling almost nothing most of the time, but then suddenly there'd be a surprising moment where I would feel his fingers on me. And that was just sort of like this, like, wow, okay, where did that come from? Getting even more into the interesting details, something that was wild was that when he was going down on me, like my labia felt almost nothing. That's usually a very sensitive place. But my clit was hyper sensitive, like almost to the point that it was painful.
So your labia disassociated, but your clit associated.
Exactly. And having that contrast, because usually the labia is kind of like, it's like, it's just feels great, but it's distracting in a good way. But it was just the clit. That was the only place I had feeling. So it was very, very focused kind of feeling. I was really also enjoying kind of pinpoint pressure even more than usual. I was much more into being pinched. Another weird one was like when he was fingering me, normally that's like a really like nice sort of full, internally full kind of feeling. And I was aware of his fingers being there. But I also was like, I wasn't really feeling them. And I was like, oh, you have to much more actively search for my G-spot and like get at it so that I will actually feel something there. Yeah. So that was just kind of like the weird thing about the anesthetic. Then, of course, I'm sure you want to know what orgasms were like.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, we want soup to nuts here. We want the whole menu.
Yeah.
We want to know everything.
I wouldn't say that they were either more intense or less intense than not under the influence of the ketamine, but they had almost like a different flavor to them. They were just kind of a little different, and that was really fun. It was just, a new kind of feeling. What was different was kind of the imagery that was popping up for me while I was coming. So, I mean, I don't know how common this is. I do often when I'm coming to orgasm, I'll sort of see patterns, like vague images, things like that. But things got way more specific this time.
So wait. You were seeing like your fourth grade homeroom teacher? Like what were you seeing that was so much more specific than patterns in...
Thank goodness not that.
Not Sister Mary Amadeus. She didn't appear to you in a cloud.
I mean, gosh, I would have needed so much more therapy after that if that were the case.
More ketamine. I need more ketamine therapy to cure me from the ketamine therapy. Yeah,
so to some degree, it was a little bit more like the kind of imagery I see while under the ketamine therapy. It turns out I see a lot of animal imagery. That's just something that's, I think, near and dear to my heart and just sort of where my brain goes. So I saw some animals, and it was kind of in that sort of vague way that it's a bit hard to explain, right? How you're seeing things when you're under ketamine. But they were like, it was very clear images. So I remember the first time I came, I saw this sort of face of a lynx kind of in the sky, and its eyes were like silvery white, blazing like the stars around it. And then when I kind of reached peak orgasm, my eyes like blazed in the same, you sort of have that sense of like I can see myself, and my eyes blazed with the same light. It was wild. Again, not sexual images, just very specific. I think another time I saw like a snow leopard. Notably, these were not. Yeah, and these weren't animal images that I had seen that day in ketamine therapy or even previously. So they were independent to this, but it was very much like while under ketamine.
Well, your reptile brain throwing snow leopards at you. So did you have penetrative sex with your partner, or was it just about him servicing you, not about his dick, not about PIV at all?
Oh, no. So I'm one of the rare birds who actually tends to come a bit more easily from penetrative sex.
The few, the proud, the 25%. We're always like reminding, especially the straight guys out there, 75% of AFAB people, women, can't come from PIV alone, but that means 25% can and do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it has to be at a certain angle because there still needs to be pressure on the clit. It's the clit still needs to be involved, but I'm much more likely to come that way. That was amazing. And I'm always a very vocal person while having sex. I'm never quiet. When I was coming from PIV, I think I screamed it was like, my screams were just like more sustained, like longer, louder, and just escalating in pitch, so much more than normal, to the point that it was making my own ears ring, and I kind of buried my face in my partner's chest.
Wine glasses shattering 3 apartments over. Was it different for your partner? He's had PIV sex with you when you weren't on ketamine, coming off ketamine because of ketamine therapy, not recreational ketamine.
Yeah.
Was it different for afterwards when you talked to him when you were not high anymore? Was it different for him, the experience of you in this condition?
Yeah. I mean, so he was able to report a bunch of things that, were different that he liked, that were, turn-ons for him. So especially at the beginning, when he was initially going down on me, he said I was kind of the quality of the noises that I was making were different. My facial expressions were different. Apparently I looked a little more lost or overwhelmed or surprised, and he found that really, really hot. He definitely said that during PIV, I almost burst his eardrums. So that I'm not sure if that's positive or negative, but he found it amusing.
All right, we're almost out of time, and I wanted to ask you this follow-up question, because when you wrote to us, you let us know it had been a year of firsts for you, that you've had lots of brand new experiences. Can you rattle off and share a couple of those other firsts in your year of firsts?
Sure.
2025 was a big year for you.
It was a very big year for me. This was my first year of performing oral sex on somebody with a foreskin. There just aren't. That's a smaller part of the male population in the States. So that was really fun and exciting. And I hope I've gotten fairly good at it at this point. What else? This was also the first year that I pegged someone, a male partner. Delightful. Have gotten into doing it. I'm very much of the kind of people who it's like collecting kinks like Pokemon, just sort of like, oh, well, I'll try this. Sure. Okay, great. Now I'm into it too. Did that.
Lovely when the graft takes, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And also just having sex while high, just on THC, because as someone with, mental health stuff, it's something I've mostly avoided. I've been on medication for many, many years. But I'm finally feeling in this space where I'm comfortable to also try, just getting high on gummies and things like that with some safe people. So yeah, that's been amazing too.
Well, I'm really glad. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing your experience with ketamine therapy and sex. Is this something that you hope to do again?
I would do it again. I'm thankfully at a point now where I don't have to go back for as many, frequent infusions. It's definitely a sometimes food, right? Both for me and for my partner.
And has it helped? First of all, the ketamine therapy, did it help? And the sex on ketamine, does that not incentivize remaining in ketamine therapy?
A A wee bit. The ketamine has been incredibly helpful for people who have tried other things and have not found it helpful and are, well, unfortunately also able to afford it. It's not cheap, but I really would highly recommend it. It has done wonders for me. And we'll see what it's like for the long run.
Not recreational ketamine. We're not talking about go out and buy all the recreational ketamine that you can get your hands on that's going to make you better. Ketamine in a therapeutic setting with a qualified mental health professional, just like mushrooms, just like MDMA, has been shown to have benefits for people, particularly people with PTSD, complex PTSD, other mental health challenges. These therapies can be helpful. And if the thought of some hot sex after a therapeutic session with MDMA or mushrooms or ketamine incentivizes people to seek the mental health care that they might need, I'm all for it. And you sharing your story might have gotten some people to go out there and get the help that they need. So thank you, Lee.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you, Lee. I'm so glad your therapy is helping you in so many different ways. If you have a tale to tell, if you tried something new, if you want to talk with me about it, whether that new experience was a good experience, a bad experience, a mid experience, a meh experience, write it up, send it to us at q@savage.love, and you might be my guest on the next After Action.
After Action Report.
After Action Report is sponsored by Load Boost by VB Health, a scientifically backed supplement designed to improve sperm health, prostate function, and overall experience. Head to loadboost.com and use my exclusive code SAVAGE to get 10% off, or click the link in the episode description. Elevate your performance with Load Boost. That's loadboost.com and use my exclusive code SAVAGE.